The Korean ambassador leans toward Amara, his breath smelling of champagne and arrogance. He speaks in rapid Mandarin, assuming the black woman in the simple dress won't understand a word. The delivery arrives in 20 minutes, he says, his eyes scanning the ballroom. Amara's lips curve into a smile. What he doesn't know will shatter every assumption in this room. Inside that smile lies fluency in 7 languages, each one learned in hours, not years. What nobody knew was that the poor American waitress they mocked had been absorbing their secrets for 18 months. Every private conversation, every business deal whispered in Korean, Russian, Japanese. She heard it all. But tonight wasn't supposed to happen this way. Tonight she was supposed to stay silent, invisible, safe. Her husband's enemies are watching. One wrong word could expose everything. But the ambassador just told her something she can't ignore. Something that changes the game completely. Amara Chun married Jin-woo Park 6 months after serving him coffee in a Chicago diner. She believed their story was simple. Powerful man falls for ordinary woman. Love conquers all. Fairy tale complete. But the moment she responded to the ambassador in flawless Mandarin, something shifted. She switched to Korean, then Japanese, then Russian, all without breaking eye contact. Jin-woo's face went pale, not surprised, terrified, because in that moment, she revealed a gift that made her the most dangerous woman in the room. A marriage built on secrets, an ability that governments would kill for, and a truth that had been hiding in plain sight since their very first conversation. But what Amara said that night, the 7 words that changed everything, only make sense if you know what happened 18 months earlier. In a Chicago diner at 2 a.m., when a stranger walked through the door speaking Korean about finding the girl who speaks in tongues, and Amara, pouring coffee 3 feet away, understood every single word. To understand how Amara became fluent in 7 languages without ever opening a textbook, we need to go back 18 months. Back to a life that looked ordinary from the outside but felt like living with a secret that could ruin everything. Amara Chun worked the 3rd shift at Sam's Diner on Chicago's South Side, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., 5 nights a week. She poured coffee for insomniacs, cab drivers, and people who didn't want to go home. She lived in a studio apartment 3 blocks away. No family, no close friends. Just her and the voices that filled her dreams in languages she'd never studied. The gift showed up when she was 7 years old. A Russian couple sat in the booth behind her at a pizza place, arguing about money. Amara understood every word. She turned to her foster mother and asked why the man was angry about his brother stealing from him. Her foster mother stared at her. How do you know Russian? Amara didn't know Russian. She just heard it and suddenly she could speak it. After that, she learned to keep quiet, to pretend she didn't understand. Because every time she revealed what she could do, people looked at her like she was broken or dangerous or something to be studied. So she hid it. She avoided international neighborhoods. She turned up her headphones on the train. She built a life around staying invisible. Now, Amara thought she was just different. Weird brain wiring. Maybe some kind of language savant disorder she'd never gotten diagnosed. But here's what she didn't discover until 3 months into her marriage. Her ability wasn't a disorder. It was genetic, inherited from a mother she'd never known. A North Korean intelligence operative who defected while pregnant, vanishing into the American foster system to save her unborn child from becoming a government weapon. Multiple intelligence agencies had active files on Amara's bloodline. They'd been searching for her since she was born. And the gift that made her feel broken? It made her one of the most valuable assets on the planet. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back in that Chicago diner, Amara had no idea she was being hunted. She just wanted to survive her shift. The customers noticed things. The way she flinched when people spoke Mandarin at the corner table. How she'd suddenly find something to clean in the kitchen when a group of Korean businessmen came in speaking loudly. One regular, an old Polish man named Stefan, once said something crude about her in Polish to his friend. Amara's hand froze mid-pour. She didn't react, but Stefan saw it in her eyes. She'd understood. He never came back. That's how Amara lived. Carefully, quietly, pretending to be normal while hiding a gift that terrified her. Then Jinwoo Park walked through the door at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in March. Expensive suit, tired eyes, phone pressed to his ear. He was speaking Korean. Rapid, clipped sentences. Amara was wiping down the counter 10 feet away, and the words hit her like they always did, instant comprehension, like flipping a switch in her brain. The asset is confirmed in the city, Jinwoo said into the phone. The girl who speaks in tongues. I'm going to make contact tonight. Amara's stomach dropped. She kept wiping the same spot on the counter, kept her face blank, but every nerve in her body screamed run. I'll verify the ability first, Jinwoo continued in Korean. If the rumors are true, we move to protection protocol immediately. Too many agencies are closing in. He ended the call and sat down at the counter, looked right at Amara, smiled. Coffee, please, he said in English. His accent was slight. His eyes were kind. Amara's hands shook as she poured. This man was looking for her, talking about her, and he had no idea she was standing 3 feet away, understanding every word he'd just said. She slid the coffee across the counter. Cream and sugar are right there, she said, her voice steady even though her heart was hammering. Jinwoo thanked her, started reading something on his phone, and Amara made a decision that would change everything. She didn't run. She didn't quit. She came back to work the next night, and the night after that. Because here's what Amara realized in those frozen seconds at the counter. Jinwoo Park wasn't looking for her randomly. Someone had sent him. Someone knew about the girl who could speak any language after hearing it once, which meant other people knew too. And if she ran, she'd just be running blind. But if she stayed, if she watched him, maybe she could figure out who was hunting her and why. Jinwoo came back every night for a week. Ordered coffee, made small talk, asked her name, where she was from, what she liked to read. He never spoke Korean around her again. He was careful, deliberate, playing a role, and Amara played hers too. The sweet waitress who had no idea she was the prey. On the 8th night, Jinwoo asked her to dinner. Amara said yes, not because she trusted him, but because she needed to know what he wanted, what he knew, and whether the danger he represented was worse than the danger of staying alone and unprotected in a city where people were apparently hunting for girls who speak in tongues. That dinner would lead to 5 more, then coffee dates, then walks along the lake, and 6 months later, a proposal that Amara accepted even though she still didn't know if Jinwoo Park loved her or if she was just an asset he'd successfully acquired. But she was about to find out, and the truth would be so much bigger than she ever imagined. 3 months into the marriage, Amara moved to Seoul. Jinwoo's penthouse overlooked the Han River, all glass walls and marble floors. It was beautiful, isolating, and nothing like the studio apartment she'd left behind. Jinwoo traveled constantly for business. Import-export, he said. Legitimate operations across Asia. Amara didn't ask questions. She was still trying to figure out if her husband had married her because he loved her or because she was the linguistic asset he'd been sent to find. The answer terrified her either way. She filled her days exploring the city, teaching herself Korean from street signs and overheard conversations. The gift worked the same way it always had. Hear it once, speak it fluently within hours. By week 2, she could navigate Seoul like a local. By week 4, she was dreaming in Korean. Jinwoo noticed. You're picking up the language fast, he said one morning over breakfast. Amara shrugged. I have a good ear. He smiled, but his eyes held something else. Relief, maybe, or confirmation. The apartment had a home office Jinwoo used for late-night calls. Amara wasn't supposed to go in there. He never said it directly, but the door was always locked when he left. She told herself it was normal. Privacy, boundaries, every marriage had them. But late at night, she'd hear his voice through the walls, speaking Korean, then Russian, then Mandarin, business calls that stretched past midnight. And Amara, lying in bed 3 rooms away, understood every word. Now, Amara thought Jinwoo was just a workaholic with international clients. But here's what she didn't discover until she found the laptop. Those late-night calls weren't about shipping routes or trade agreements. They were negotiations with crime syndicates, weapons dealers, intelligence brokers. Jinwoo Park wasn't a businessman. He was the heir to one of Korea's most powerful organized crime families. And every conversation Amara overheard in her sleep was a piece of classified information that could get them both killed. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back in month 3, Amara just thought her husband worked too hard. The discovery happened on a Tuesday morning. Jinwoo left early for a meeting in Busan. Said he'd be gone for 2 days. Amara was making coffee when she noticed his laptop on the kitchen counter. He'd forgotten it. She almost texted him. Almost. But something stopped her. A feeling she'd been ignoring for months. The feeling that her husband was hiding something bigger than business secrets. She opened the laptop. No password on the home screen. That should have been her first warning. Jinwoo was meticulous about security. But there it was. Open. Waiting. She found the folder 15 minutes later. Buried in a directory labeled Asset Protection Protocol. Inside were audio files. Dozens of them. Each one labeled with a date and time. Amara clicked the first one. Her own voice filled the kitchen. Speaking Russian. Fluid, flawless Russian. She froze. She'd never recorded herself speaking Russian. Never even spoken it out loud since that day at the pizza place 21 years ago. She clicked another file. Arabic. Then another. Farsi. Languages she didn't remember learning. Didn't remember speaking. But the timestamps told a different story. Every recording was made between midnight and 4 a.m. While she was sleeping. The files went back 3 months. Every single night since she'd moved to Seoul. Amara's hands shook as she clicked through them. In one recording, she recited a string of numbers in Russian. Bank account codes. In another, she repeated a conversation in Farsi about a shipping container in Dubai. She was speaking information she'd never consciously heard. Information from Jinwoo's late-night phone calls. Her gift wasn't just letting her learn languages. It was recording them, processing them, even when she was unconscious. She confronted Jinwoo the moment he walked through the door. Didn't wait for him to put down his briefcase. I found the recordings, she said. Her voice was steady, but her whole body was shaking. Jinwoo went pale. Set down his briefcase slowly. Amara, I can explain. You've been recording me in my sleep. Yes. For 3 months. Yes. Why? Jinwoo looked at her for a long moment. Then he walked to the bar, poured himself a drink, and said the words that would change everything. Because you're not just learning languages, Amara. You're absorbing information. Everything you hear, even unconsciously, gets stored in that gift of yours. And the people I work for needed to know exactly what you were picking up. The room tilted. Amara grabbed the back of the couch to steady herself. The people you work for? Jinwoo drank the whiskey in one swallow. I'm not an import-export businessman. My family runs one of the largest organized crime syndicates in East Asia. We operate under legitimate fronts, but the real business is information trading, weapons facilitation, political leverage. And you, Amara, have been listening to our most sensitive communications in your sleep for 3 months. So you married me to spy on me. I married you to protect you. Most people listening right now would stay silent in Amara's place. They'd tell themselves it's safer not to ask questions. If that sounds like you already understand this story more than you think. The distinction felt meaningless. Amara's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the couch. Jinwoo stayed by the bar, giving her space. Protect me from what? From every intelligence agency on the planet. You have no idea how valuable you are. A woman who can hear any language once and speak it fluently? Who processes information even while unconscious? You're a walking surveillance device. Governments have been looking for people like you for decades. People like me. Your mother was one. The words hung in the air between them. My mother abandoned me when I was 3, Amara said. I don't know anything about her. She didn't abandon you. She hid you. Jin-woo finally crossed the room, sat in the chair across from her. Your mother was a North Korean linguistic intelligence operative. Same gift as you. She defected while pregnant because she knew what they'd do to her child. She disappeared into the American foster system to save you. And she succeeded. For 25 years you stayed hidden. But rumors have a way of surfacing. The girl who speaks in tongues. The waitress in Chicago who understands every language. Someone was always going to come looking. And you found me first. My organization found you first. And they sent me to verify the rumors and secure you before someone else did. Amara's mind raced. Every moment of their relationship recontextualized in seconds. The courtship, the proposal, the move to Seoul. None of it was real. It was extraction, acquisition. The gala, she said suddenly. Next week. You want me to go? Jin-woo's face darkened. The gala is a test. It's where all the major players in our world gather under the guise of charity. Politicians, diplomats, crime lords pretending to be businessmen. If you can navigate that room without exposing yourself, you're safe. If you can't. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Amara understood. The gala wasn't just a party. It was an audition, proving ground. And somewhere in that room would be the man who killed Jin-woo's father. The Korean ambassador. The rival who'd been waiting years for his chance at revenge. And Amara, with her dangerous gift, would be standing right in the center of it all. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She lay in the dark listening to Jin-woo's breathing, wondering how many lies lived in the space between them. The laptop sat in the office down the hall. Closed. Locked away. But the recordings played on a loop in her mind. Her own voice speaking languages she didn't remember learning. Saying things she'd never consciously heard. The next morning, Jin-woo acted like nothing had changed. He made coffee, asked about her plans for the day, kissed her forehead before leaving for a meeting in Gangnam. Amara watched him go and made a decision. She wasn't going to run. She wasn't going to hide. She was going to find out exactly what she'd married into. She started in Jin-woo's office. The laptop was gone, he'd taken it with him. But the filing cabinets weren't locked. Inside the bottom drawer, beneath folders of shipping manifests and tax documents, she found a leather portfolio stamped with Korean characters she'd learned to read weeks ago. Park Family Archives. Her hands shook as she opened it. Now, Amara thought she was just looking for proof of Jin-woo's business dealings. Evidence of the crime syndicate he'd mentioned. But here's what she didn't discover until she was 12 pages deep into declassified intelligence documents. Her gift wasn't just rare. It was legendary. Multiple governments had active surveillance files on linguistic prodigies dating back to the Cold War. The CIA, MI6, Russian Foreign Intelligence, Chinese Ministry of State Security, all of them hunting for people with her exact ability. And at the center of every file was a single North Korean operative who'd vanished in 1997. Code name, Nightingale. Real name, Chun Hyejin. Her mother. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back in that office, Amara was just trying to understand why her husband had married her. The documents were meticulous. Surveillance photos, genetic markers, family trees traced across 3 generations. Chan Hyejin had been North Korea's most valuable intelligence asset. A woman who could infiltrate any country, any organization, simply by listening. She'd defected 8 months pregnant, disappeared into Chicago's foster system, and died in a car accident when Amara was 3, or so the official report claimed. But there were notes in the margins. Handwritten, in Korean. Someone had been tracking Amara since birth. Amara's gift wasn't random. It wasn't a disorder or brain wiring gone wrong. It was genetic, inherited from a mother who'd been hunted by governments, who'd given her life to hide her daughter from becoming a weapon. And now, 25 years later, the rumors had surfaced again. The girl who speaks in tongues. The waitress in Chicago who understands everything. Multiple intelligence agencies had reactivated their search protocols. They were closing in. But Amara didn't realize this yet. At the time, she was focused on a single photograph paperclipped to the back of the file. A surveillance photo taken outside her Chicago diner, dated 6 months before Jinwoo walked through the door. In the image, 3 men in dark suits stood across the street, watching, waiting, and written beneath in Jinwoo's handwriting, "Intercepted. Relocation protocol initiated." She heard the front door open. Jinwoo's voice calling her name. Amara closed the portfolio, slid it back into the drawer, and walked out of the office with her heart hammering against her ribs. Jinwoo stood in the living room, his jacket still on, his face unreadable. "You went through my files," he said. "It wasn't a question. You've been lying to me since the day we met. I've been protecting you since the day we met." He crossed to the bar, poured 2 glasses of whiskey, and handed her one. "Sit down. I'll tell you everything." Jinwoo had known about her mother's identity before he ever walked into that diner. His organization had intercepted chatter from 3 different intelligence agencies, all converging on Chicago, all searching for Chan Hye-jin's daughter, the girl who'd inherited the gift. His father had sent him to verify the rumors and make contact, to offer protection before someone else offered a black site and electrodes. "My father understood what you were," Jinwoo said quietly. "What you are." He'd built his empire on information. He knew that a woman who could hear every secret whispered in every language was either the most valuable ally or the most dangerous enemy. He paused. "He wanted you protected, safe, hidden within our organization where no government could touch you. So you married me as a business transaction. I married you because 3 weeks into our courtship, I realized I'd rather die than let anyone hurt you." Jinwoo's voice cracked. "It started as extraction, protection protocol. But Amara, somewhere between that diner and this apartment, it became real. You became the only real thing in my life." Amara's hands shook so hard the whiskey glass rattled against her teeth. She wanted to throw it at him. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to run. But the recordings, the surveillance, the files. "The gala," she said. "Why do you really want me there?" Jinwoo's face went dark. He finished his whiskey and poured another. "Because the man who killed my father will be there, the Korean ambassador, and he doesn't know what you are, what you can do. If we play this right, you'll hear something he doesn't want heard. And we'll finally have the leverage we need to end this." The room felt smaller suddenly, colder. Amara set down her glass. "You want to use me. I want to protect you by making you untouchable. There's a difference." Jinwoo leaned forward. "Every person at that gala is part of the same network. Politicians, diplomats, crime lords pretending to be businessmen. They all know my family. They all know what happened to my father. And when they see you, when they underestimate you because you're American, because you're black, because you're wearing a dress that costs less than their watches, we'll have the advantage. One conversation. That's all I need. One conversation where the ambassador speaks freely because he thinks you can't understand." Amara's gift had kept her alive for 28 years by staying hidden. Now Jinwoo was asking her to weaponize it, to step into a room full of the most dangerous people in Asia and prove she was more dangerous than all of them. And when Jinwoo finally told her what the ambassador had done, how he'd orchestrated his father's assassination at a charity gala just like this one, Amara realized the truth. The gala wasn't just a test. It was a trap, and she was the bait. The week before the gala, Jinwoo brought home a dress. Red silk, off-shoulder, simple but elegant. He laid it across their bed like an offering. "For Saturday," he said. Amara touched the fabric. Felt expensive. Real. Nothing like the black dress she'd planned to wear, the one she'd bought at a department store for $200. "Jinwoo, I can't." "You can. You will." He sat beside her. "Every woman at that gala will be wearing designer gowns worth more than most people make in a year. They'll look at you and make assumptions. Let them. But wear something that makes you feel like you belong there. Because you do." Amara wanted to argue. But looking at that dress, she realized Jinwoo wasn't asking her to fit in. He was asking her to stand out, to claim space in a room that would try to erase her. She wore the dress on Saturday night, and the moment she walked into that ballroom, she felt every eye turn toward her. Now, Amara thought the stares were judgment, mockery, the poor American who'd somehow married into Korean elite society. But here's what she didn't discover until the ambassador leaned close and spoke in Mandarin. Every person who looked at her that night was part of an international council. Crime lords, intelligence brokers, political fixers operating under diplomatic cover. And by entering that room as Jinwoo's wife, she just declared herself part of their world. A world where women didn't hold power, where Black Americans certainly didn't belong. Her presence alone was a violation of centuries of tradition. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back in that ballroom entrance, Amara just wanted to survive the next 3 hours. The mockery started immediately. A woman in diamonds whispered to her companion in Japanese, "American trophy wife. How long until he trades her in?" Another man, Russian accent thick even in English, spoke to Jinwoo like Amara wasn't standing right there. "You've always had expensive tastes, Park. Though I expected better quality control." Jinwoo's jaw tightened, but he smiled, thanked them for coming, guided Amara deeper into the ballroom with his hand on her lower back. She felt him trembling, not fear, rage. "Breathe," she whispered. "I've heard worse at the diner. You shouldn't have to hear it here." But she did. For the next hour, Amara smiled through conversations conducted in English while guests whispered about her in Korean, Mandarin, Japanese. They assumed she couldn't understand, that she was decoration, a mistake Jinwoo would correct eventually. And Amara let them believe it, because with every conversation, she was learning about shipping routes through Busan, about weapons caches in Bangkok, about the power structure holding this entire network together. She heard it all. What those guests didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that by speaking their languages in front of her, they just handed Amara the keys to their kingdoms. Every insult, every business deal, every secret whispered in assumed safety. She understood it all. And in that moment, when she finally responded to the ambassador in flawless Mandarin, she wasn't just defending herself. She was declaring herself Jinwoo's equal, partner, player. In their world, that was unforgivable. Women didn't claim power. They certainly didn't claim it in front of the entire council. But Amara didn't realize this yet. At the time, she was focused on the ambassador's words. "The delivery arrives in 20 minutes. She'd switched to Korean without thinking. Then Japanese. Then Russian. Proving she'd heard everything. Understood everything. And the ballroom went silent. Jinwoo's face had gone pale. Not because he was surprised by her gift. He'd known about it for 18 months. He was terrified because she'd just exposed herself in front of the most dangerous people in Asia. People who would kill for the ability she'd just demonstrated. The silence stretched for 5 seconds. 10. Then someone started laughing. A woman in emerald silk. "Well," she said in French, "this changes things." Amara understood that too. She met the woman's eyes and responded in perfect French. "Does it?" The laughter stopped. The ambassador's hand had moved to his jacket pocket. Jinwoo stepped slightly in front of Amara, a protective instinct he couldn't suppress. And across the ballroom, 3 men in dark suits began moving toward the exits. Not leaving, positioning. In that moment, Amara realized the choice in front of her. She could apologize, pretend the languages were party tricks, play dumb and maybe walk out of this ballroom alive. Or she could keep listening, because somewhere in this room, the ambassador had just given an order. The delivery arrives in 20 minutes, and Jinwoo's security team was moving into defensive positions, which meant the delivery wasn't cargo. It was an assassination. She could stay silent, protect herself by staying invisible like she'd done her entire life. Or she could use her gift to decode exactly what was coming, who was targeted, how much time they had. But using it meant exposing herself completely, becoming the woman every intelligence agency in the world had been hunting since she was born. There would be no going back. No more hiding. No more pretending to be ordinary. And when the ambassador leaned toward his associate and whispered in rapid Mandarin about extraction points and cleanup protocols, Amara made her choice. She'd spent 28 years running from her gift. Tonight, she was going to weaponize it. Here's the uncomfortable part. Every person listening right now has had a moment like this. A moment where staying quiet felt safer than being seen. And if you're still listening, it's probably because you chose silence too. Amara listened, not just to the ambassador's Mandarin, but to everything happening in that ballroom. The Russian businessman near the bar speaking about contingency plans. The Japanese diplomat discussing extraction routes. The French arms dealer confirming payment schedules. Every conversation layered on top of each other like a symphony only she could hear. And somewhere in that chaos, she found the pattern. The assassination wasn't just about Jinwoo. It was about his entire family line. About erasing the Park legacy completely. The ambassador had waited 5 years for this moment. For a gala where all the major players would witness Jinwoo's death. Where his widow, the poor American who didn't belong, would be left with nothing. No protection. No power. No way to claim what was his. But the ambassador made one miscalculation. He assumed Amara was ordinary. Powerless. Someone who could be dismissed and forgotten. He didn't know about the gift. About the mother who died protecting it. About 18 months of absorbed secrets that had been processing in Amara's mind while she slept. And he certainly didn't know about the language she was about to speak. Now, Amara thought she was just buying time. Decoding the assassination plot to give Jinwoo's security a chance. But here's what she didn't discover until she opened her mouth. The ancient Korean dialect living in her mind wasn't something she'd learned from Jinwoo's business calls. It was something deeper. Something genetic. Her mother's bloodline traced back to the same region as Jinwoo's grandmother, a legendary negotiator who'd built the Park Empire through words, not weapons. And when Amara spoke, she wasn't just speaking a language. She was channeling 70 years of ancestral memory. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back in that ballroom, Amara just knew she had to do something. She stepped forward, away from Jinwoo's protective stance. Into the center of the room where everyone could see her. The red dress caught the chandelier light, her hands steady at her sides. And when she spoke, the words came from somewhere ancient, somewhere she didn't consciously access. The dialect was older than modern Korean. Formal, ceremonial, words that hadn't been spoken publicly in 60 years. In the 7th moon of the year of the Iron Tiger, Amara said, her voice carrying across the silent ballroom. The grandmother of the Park family stood before the Council of Families. She spoke of honor, of blood debt, of the price of betrayal. Jinwoo's face went white, not pale, white, because those words, that exact phrase was the opening of his grandmother's most famous negotiation. The one that had ended a 3-generation blood feud. The one that had established his family's authority. And Amara was reciting it word for word, in a dialect she'd never studied, in a voice that sounded nothing like her own. What nobody in that room knew, what Jinwoo had never told her, was that his grandmother's gift was the same as Amara's, the ability to hear and speak any language, to absorb information across generations. The family believed she'd been reincarnated, that her spirit chose the next heir. And when Amara spoke in that ancient dialect, using words only true-born heirs could know, she wasn't just revealing her gift. She was declaring herself the spiritual successor. The grandmother returned. It was impossible, supernatural, and absolutely undeniable. But Amara didn't realize this yet. At the time, she was focused on finishing the negotiation, on speaking the words that would save Jinwoo's life. She told them that betrayal carries a price. Amara continued in the ancient dialect. That blood demands blood. But she offered mercy, a choice. Walk away with honor, or die with shame. She turned to the ambassador, switched to Mandarin. Your delivery won't arrive tonight. Your assassins are already detained. And this council has witnessed your intention to break the gala's sacred neutrality. The ambassador's hand dropped from his jacket, his face unreadable. Around the ballroom, the other attendees began to murmur, not in mockery, in reverence, because what they just witnessed wasn't a trick. It was a spiritual declaration, a claim of leadership that superseded Jin Woo's authority entirely. The woman in emerald silk stepped forward, bowed. The grandmother speaks, she said in French. We acknowledge. One by one, the other attendees followed. The Russian businessman, the Japanese diplomat, even the ambassador, after a long moment, inclined his head. He'd been outplayed, not by force but by something he couldn't fight. Ancestral authority, spiritual legitimacy, the one thing in their world that trumped violence. Jin Woo took Amara's hand, his fingers trembling. How did you know those words? He whispered in English. Amara looked at him. I don't know. I just heard them, like I always do. But she was lying, because somewhere in the back of her mind, she could feel the truth. She'd been hearing those words her entire life, in dreams, in the spaces between languages. Her mother's gift hadn't just been linguistic. It had been generational, a bloodline ability that connected her to every ancestor who'd carried it before. That was 3 years ago. Today, Amara runs the Park Empire from an office in Seoul that overlooks the Han River. She speaks 7 languages fluently, 12 conversationally, and she's still discovering new ones in her dreams. But she's not hiding anymore. Her gift is public knowledge, documented, undeniable, and instead of making her a target, it made her untouchable. She built a network, 47 linguistic prodigies across 12 countries. People like her, people who'd spent their lives hiding because they could hear and speak things they shouldn't understand. She finds them, protects them, gives them the choice she never had. Hide in safety or claim your power openly. Some choose hiding. She respects that, funds their protection, keeps them off every government watch list. Others choose power. They work with her, build the same kind of empire Jinwoo built, but cleaner, better, using information to protect instead of profit. Jinwoo still runs operations, still makes the hard calls, but Amara is the face of their organization now. The voice, the one who negotiates in rooms full of people who once would have laughed her out the door. And every time she speaks, she remembers that diner in Chicago, the studio apartment, the years of pretending to be normal. She thinks about the girl who hid her gift because she thought it made her broken, who believed staying invisible was the same as staying safe. And she wishes she could go back. Tell that girl the truth, that the thing you're hiding isn't a curse. It's power waiting to be claimed. That staying small doesn't protect you. It just makes you easier to control. Most people listening right now will scroll away and keep hiding the thing that makes